We must stay alive.
Welcome to episode 9 of Conversation on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host, Lance, and joining me on the podcast today is Liz.
Hello.
Sabine.
Hi.
And Hill.
Hey.
With episode notes done by Kata and myself. So episode 9, the screenplay was done by Harry Duffin, and it was directed once again by Wayne Terrell. And here's the episode synopsis. Unexpected guests have been found in the mall, prompting a new method for assigning chores. Now, if only those various tribe members can adhere to their assignments. An admission of love awkwardly puts Bray between two jealous girls, while another rejects Lex's advances once more. Meanwhile, the locals have found a new leader. So episode 9, it kicks off after Zoot's death with Bray reflecting on his brother's life with Celine.
Martin was the baby of the family. My parents loved him to pieces. Took him everywhere. They were always laughing, playing together. The three of them were inseparable. And then, when the virus struck, and they died.
He changed?
And it's in the scene that we learn a bit more about the shy and bullied Martin and the really close connection he had with his parents. And it's also one of those very rare moments that Bray actually accepts some responsibility for his actions in what happened. But yeah, what are your thoughts, panel, about the revelations we learn here about Martin himself?
I mean, watching it last night, I kind of had to pause it and clap for Bray for a little bit to actually acknowledge that he played some role in the awfulness and getting his brother into the mall and killing him. So I took a moment.
It was the one little bit I was like, oh,
Yeah.
finally Bray.
Yeah. And I had to pause it, and I was like, that was a blink if you miss it moment. Good job, Bray. It took you 4 seconds to do that, but I feel better. Thanks.
Well, it's nice to hear about their past. I mean, Bray painting Martin as this vulnerable guy and Zoot as the complete opposite.
Yeah. I don't know, but that always... So it kind of sits weird with me, too, because it's not speaking ill of the dead, and I wonder how much of that is an actual thing and how much of it is Bray trying to paint Martin as a better person because he's dead.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
We do kind of, the only thing we ever see is him in school being crazy. That's not vulnerable little Martin.
You don't just see him as batshit crazy, though, in that episode. I mean, you also see him being the little boy in love with Trudy and being a bit vulnerable, being the kid that can't live up to his big brother.
But we have to wait how many episodes until we actually see if that's true?
Odd.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it made sense to me, because you have, this boy who's been apparently bullied, according to Bray, and he just snapped. He completely snapped when his entire world changed.
Well, the thing is, we don't ever really know if that's the truth or not, or like Hill said, it's just from Bray's point of view. That is the most interesting thing about Zoot. We will never know what he was really like because we were only ever told about him from other people.
Yeah.
Even the flashbacks are from the point of view of the person telling the story. So we'll never know who Martin actually was. We don't know if he was just a sweet, vulnerable boy who couldn't handle losing his parents. We'll never know if he was an entitled twat who thought Trudy should be with him and threw a tantrum because she didn't want to be. We'll never know if he was really a visionary, like Ebony liked to think of him as. All we know is the Zoot we saw, and we didn't get a lot of him, and it is quite possible that Bray was simply...
And that's why I've grown to like Zoot as a character, is we don't ever really know. He's very pliable in where, we have this legend of him, but we don't know. I'm Camp Twat, by the way, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I hadn't thought about that before. Like Bray, probably not speaking all the dead. We don't really.
We don't know.
Bullied, yeah.
Yeah, but
And I have a hard time thinking anyone bullied him just because of, like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
I get the shyness bit, but bullied, yeah, that's
Yeah. I don't know if I would want to bully, this dude named Martin.
Yeah, but dude named Martin looked weird. And
Yeah, he
looked-
had those weird eyes. Like, I could see them picking on him because he had weird eyes, but, like, I wouldn't go up to him and, like, shove him because that meant, like, being face to face with him.
He didn't have the weird eyes until after.
Fine. Once again, Hillary doesn't watch that episode.
yeah,
He
there
just
were
looked-
contacts, but yeah.
I don't know. If you look at him in a school uniform, he just looks like he's tiny.
He just looks like a normal kid. Like I
Yeah.
said, we don't know what. And I'm sure there was
Yeah.
some truth to everything we hear about him,
Yeah.
but it's just not the whole truth. We don't know what the whole truth is. But I do think that's a very fun aspect of the show because this is not the only character they ever do it with. They play around with the truth based on people's point of view all the time. And it's just, they never really bring any attention to it. It's just always in the background, listening to different characters talk about something that has happened in the show and hearing the way they will sum up the situation. And sometimes they leave out a ton of details and you're like, whoa. I watched that. You're not saying the whole story. Or they change what happened because that's their point of view. And I do like that the show does that because...
And I wonder if that's, granted, it's not kids doing that, but that is very much a kid thing.
It's not a kid thing. It's a human thing. All people do it.
Yeah.
No matter how old you are, that's how you see the world from your point of view. That's how you translate it to others.
Yeah.
But one thing I'd like to say about that, because of course we have Bray speaking, of Martin as a good kid, but we also have Trudy claiming he wasn't like that before he became Zoot. He was very different, but that could also be her just not wanting to be known as the girl who slept with Zoot.
I think all she says is he was very gentle, I think, at one point.
Yeah.
That's all we really learn.
That's all you get from her.
Yeah.
But, I mean, she's not going to say, oh, check this out, this dude I slept with.
Yeah.
You
She
little
is very
shit.
defensive when she's saying it because Celine is being very accusatory. Like he slept with a thug, and she's like, he wasn't like that. So
Yeah.
and then of course when you look at Trudy's flashback of Zoot, he doesn't come across as the greatest. Again, I just think he's an entitled brat in her point of view. So again, I think we're only getting the half truth from her. And of course, Bray's looking back with rose-tinted glasses. I mean, Zoot could have been killing animals for all we know, and Bray wouldn't have known.
I think we've all decided he was, though. I do remember this from last week, was it? Were we talking about Zoot killing animals or Martin killing animals?
Oh, yeah.
I still don't agree.
In secret, probably.
I think
pretty
it's just a funny thought. I have no idea
I'm just
what
saying,
it's really
like-
doing.
Of all the characters, Zoot Martin over here has the secret bunker where he kills small animals in the woods.
Nah,
If you're gonna focus on what Ebony tells you about him, then yes, I would like he totally was killing some animal.
She's at the bunker. Are you
Like,
kidding
oh
me?
my goodness, her
She's-
flashbacks of him are terrible.
Oh, wow,
She's doing it as well.
He was like a step away from being a serial killer. Yeah.
or at least love to torment her with spiders.
Oh, that was funny, that scene.
Celine?
What's going on, Bray? Rats! All over the cafe.
Yeah, cool. Speaking of spiders and infestations,
Nice. Segue.
Great
I like that. That was
segue.
beautiful.
I thought so. Thank you. So back in episode 7, we did discuss obviously the hygiene situation with Trudy and how the guys left her in. But what do you think about now we have rats infestating the mall and the cafe? Should the group have heeded Amber's warning more seriously, especially obviously after everything with the virus? Or do you think they just was never going to take this seriously?
I think some of them really should have, especially someone with Dell's brain and knowledge, should have heeded that warning.
But once again, it goes back to like someone making you do chores, and I don't think they necessarily realized that like leaving dishes in the sink would eventually become this big issue of rats.
Yeah, if you grew up in a home where these things were always taken care of, it's an abstract concept to you just how bad things can be. And I mean, I was an adult before I was living on my own and realized just how bad the house can be if you're not cleaning it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised they didn't take it that seriously. Very few of them have been settled down in one place for very long anyway. So they haven't really had to think about that, the upkeep of the place you're going to stay in, and they're leaving this food out, and of course finally the rats are coming out. And
like, I'm sure like in their homes before the virus, like their parents would never let it get that bad. Like, you know, maybe their personal space was a little messy, but I highly doubt there was just, you know, trash and dishes everywhere for long periods of time.
Come on, every kid has the common knowledge that leaving food out attracts animals, whether it be annoying tiny little pests like ants, but they know they can cause
they just don't care and they don't really think about it.
Yeah.
My children are very intelligent and clean, and I can't tell you how much crap they leave around.
Yeah.
Why, Tristan, why is there so much food on your floor? I don't understand. You're 17 years old. Why? Every time I have to do the yearly cleaning of my son's room, where I have to break things down. Every year I've had to do this of his life. I am always afraid that I'm going to discover we've got roaches because of him.
Oh God!
Ever since he's had his own room, it's always been that way. He knows not to leave food around, but you won't believe the food I will find in that room that he forgot existed. And I'm like,
it happens.
How can you be so smart and so dumb? Yeah, so I totally know Tristan would be one of these mall rats and would have the rats and be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot."
Yeah, that's me too. I'm not gonna lie, like, I forget. I'm looking at food right now that I'm like, I meant to throw that away the other day. Crap. And then it will probably sit there for another couple days because I'll forget again.
Liz, you just sketched the next 12 years of my life.
I think it's also a priority thing, too. Like, Jack's running around with his radio and they're trying to survive. I don't think they're stopping to think of like, hey, let me clean this dish right now while I can. Meanwhile, I gotta get back to the Batcave and build something. I don't know.
It's just really about, you don't do the things you don't want to do until you have to. I mean, that's just common nature. Like, we as adults, we've learned, I have to do this. So we just get in the habit of doing the things we have to do. We don't want to do the dishes. We just know now that we have to because they're not going anywhere and we've gotten in the habit of it. But that is a learned responsibility. And that's something you have to learn as you get older. You have to do this. For these kids, it's really easy to ignore a lot of things until it gets out of hand. And then they have to learn, okay, this isn't going to go away. Us living here, all these messes, we have to do something about it. But they have to go through this first.
It was a bit of a cop-out. We didn't get to actually see the cleanup itself.
No. And I was just thinking, as Liz was saying that, I was thinking back to Amber's line about, like, once the rota is actually put up, in common spaces, everyone has to clean, but your own room's your own responsibility. Those rooms were actually really nice. Like, nobody was really the hoarder too much, but the inside of the mall was always filthy. Which makes me laugh now that I think about it.
She'll survive, but we won't if we don't get our act together. There's no point in surviving the virus only to die of food poisoning, so I've drawn up this.
Oh, what is it?
It's a work rota. I've divided all the chores amongst us, so we all do everything.
Yeah, speaking of the rota, obviously something that Amber decides to implement, which gives us a little glimpse once again, into her kind of leadership skills. But what do you think about the way she tries to tackle this? Because do you think it was inspired or silly to kind of force everyone to, here's your jobs, here's what we're going to do, like, get at it? Do you think that was smart, foolish?
Like, I think her heart was in the right spot, but the way about it, not so much.
I think she should have at least discussed some of the things
Yeah.
put on that rota. because I know she has legs up for cooking at some point.
Yeah,
You know,
like that's the thing too.
cook.
Is like if she would have brought it up, like I'm sure Celine would have been more than happy to cook. But like I don't want Zandra cooking or Lex cooking or Ryan cooking or pretty much any of them cooking except maybe Celine, maybe Trudy. I don't know. Jack, maybe. I don't know.
Jack eats straight from the cans. He's not cooking any of my food.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
there are.
it's just one of the first people cooking. I'm looking at the schedule right now. It's like Del cooking lunch, Lex cooking dinner, and I'm thinking, oh god, you people, you're gonna starve.
But like that's the thing. Like I'm sure there might be someone in that mall who really likes mopping. Like I personally, I love mopping. I don't know why. I don't want to take out trash, but I will mop happily. So I think if Amber would have been like, "Hey, what do you like to do?" They could have come to a really great place in the Rhoda. But putting it up and not thinking about that was kind of stupid.
I actually just saw something interesting on the Rhoda. The
What?
same moment they have Lex up for cooking dinner, they have Zandra up for cooking dinner as well. Even though most other days it's Celine doing the cooking, on the Tuesday it's Del cooking lunch and Lex and Zandra doing dinner.
I thought I saw him on cooking, like
Yeah.
quickly while I was watching it last night, and I was like, that can't be right. I'm on YouTube. The quality's terrible, but
Yeah, I have the HD copies here, so
Believe it or not, I actually find Amber's Rhoda a sign of just how methodical she is in her leadership. It's one of her better qualities. Amber literally tries everything. She goes through a step-by-step process of figuring out how to get these kids in the mall to work together. So she starts off passive, gently just encouraging everyone to work together, and slowly sees that doesn't work. Okay. So then she gets hard on everybody and says, okay, fine. They clearly need to have jobs assigned to them because leaving them to their own, they won't do anything. So she gives everybody a job. Then she watches how that plays out. And what I love is even when she says, okay, fine, I give up, live like pigs, she's not giving up. She's literally just going back to the drawing board to regroup and figure out how, okay, that didn't work, what do I have to try next? And I love that about her. Because
I
it's
get
like,
that.
you know, you haven't tried everything until you get it to work. You know what I mean? And even though she's frustrated, she hasn't given up. She's just like, okay, she's just checking this thing off of her list of ways to get this group to work together.
I get that, but I feel like if you're balancing, like anyone would figure out that if you're balancing a lot of people with different personalities, I think you almost need to approach the group and say, hey, kind of have to do this together. It's not going to be fun, but what's the least awful thing you could do to help the group?
But yes, you've pointed out these are kids. And that's not something you would just know off the top of your head how to handle the situation. You have to try and fail. Even as a parent, I'm a mother, and when I have to approach a new way to deal with my children, when a new problem, new issue pops up, I don't automatically know exactly how to approach this problem. It's a trial and error. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, this is new. I don't know how to do this.
Even as a kid, like, I don't think Amber, on the flip side, would realize, hey, if someone assigned me a job, I don't know if I would necessarily like it either.
Yeah, but Amber's attitude is, if it needs to be done, it needs to be done. And that's the way she sees the world. And she has trouble with understanding people who do not see it that way. The way Amber sees it is something needs to be done and it's the right thing to do, then everybody should just do it. And she gets very frustrated with people who don't think that way. So it makes perfect sense to me that she didn't think, hey, how about I ask people what jobs they want to do? Because they've already proven to her they won't do anything of their own volition. So yeah, it makes sense that she would just say, fine, I will assign you a job. I'll make it really easy for you simpletons. And if everybody does it, it'll get done. And then as soon as she realized it didn't work, she's like, okay, what's my next way to tackle this?
And that's why I said her heart was in the right place. Just her going about it wasn't the best.
From looking at it, she did put thought into who she gave what chore, or at least at what moment in time, because she pairs people off. She pairs Del and Jack together, Lex and Zandra.
I mean, yeah, like, once again, her heart was in the right spot, but I don't think it was thought fully through.
No, but it kind of was, because she obviously didn't try to put Del and Jack, or she didn't try to put Del and Lex together, because, well, she wouldn't really trust them together.
Isn't she the one who tries to get, or who offers them up for the...
No, it was Lex.
Oh.
Lex is the one who says, "Oh, Bray isn't here, well, I'll go with you, Del." And then just slacks off on the job.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that in a minute. Because
It's just Lex's MO. It's just slack off the job. Any job.
Yeah,
Kids being kids.
but it
Oh, okay. See, that's you get on Amber for not approaching this perfectly, but then immediately go, it's kids being kids.
But no, but I
Yeah.
never said about Amber not doing it perfectly. I said her heart was in the right place, but there was other ways of doing it. I understand that she's a kid, but even as a kid, if someone tells me to do, that was the quickest way as a kid to get me out of anything, was to say, "Hey, Hillary, this is what you're doing, and this is why I'm telling you to do it." And I wouldn't do it. So I see that. Like, if anyone were to come to me as a child and say, "This is what you're doing," I wouldn't have. So Amber's trying to do that to kids.
Yeah, but I'm
kids her own age.
When I was a kid, if someone had given me a list and said, "This is what you have to do," I would have done it. I'm like, okay, fine. I would look at the list. I'd be like, "Oh, we all have a job to do. Okay, I'll do it." So that's why I don't think Amber went about it the wrong way.
No, and yeah, the way she did it makes sense.
It made perfect sense. It just didn't work for this group, and now she's got to find a new way.
that brings up the next point I was going to make as well. Do you think that everyone should have a specific role in this new world, or do you think like some people should be allowed to coast through? What are your kind of feelings about like people's roles within this world?
I think if you're going to be with the group, you need to put, your own, like, you need to make yourself in the group. Like, you should have to do something.
Everyone needs to contribute.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone needs to contribute to the best of their ability. Not everybody has the same skill set. Not everybody's good at certain things, but you need to be putting some effort forth toward the group. Otherwise, like, why are you there? Get out of here.
Yeah.
And frankly, Bob puts more effort toward the group than Lex does sometimes. It makes me so mad.
And well, in the earliest episodes, Bob at least puts in more effort than Trudy does.
Though, in Trudy's case, she was recovering from squeezing a watermelon out. So
Yeah.
she should be given 2 weeks to just be able to sit on her butt. Just give her an ice pack.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I think it wouldn't have been so bad if Trudy had had a better attitude through the whole thing. But she makes herself such a miserable pain that all you can do is focus on the fact that she is not contributing anything to the group.
I mean, it's gotten to the point where Celine has tasks on the road and has to look after Brady.
Oh, good lord.
I did like how the rotor was blank for Trudy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. Whereas even she could have folded some towels.
Yeah, I think Trudy should have done something.
done
Like, she
something.
could have done something.
At the very least, she could have been just taking care of her child. That's it. That's all she needs to do. That's all she's got to just take care of your baby. You know what I mean? That's all. I do find her personality snap to be hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, think about it. Trudy goes from being this beautiful, tragic victim in the story. You know, she shows up, she's pregnant, and she's very sweet and vulnerable, and oh my goodness, please don't throw me out on the street. And then she's having a baby, and all her sympathies are with this poor girl. It's just one tragedy after another for her. And then as Martin is dead, oh my gosh. She just snaps like she has a completely different personality, and it cracks me up every time. No subtlety. The sweet ingenue was gone. She's out the window, and there's just this whole new person there, and you're like, is this Bray's been taken care of for the last 7 months?
And suddenly you get it why Bray tried to ditch her for a night. You suddenly get why he thought it was a good idea to have Zoot come in and try and take her away.
Oh, that was too funny.
Let's talk about the Trudy and Celine situation now, because there's a lot that happens in a short amount of time. Obviously, we learn in this episode that Trudy never really was in love with Zoot, so she says, and it was Bray that she always wanted. Let's talk about that first. Like, what are your thoughts about Trudy's lack of any real affection for Martin?
I didn't really care. I mean, it happens all the time. I kind of almost felt bad for her because, like, you know, I had a couple of those episodes in high school. There was somebody I wasn't that into, and stuff went somewhere, and I didn't get a baby out of it. Thank God. I can't imagine. You know, I look back at that guy in 9th grade and be like, oh my gosh, what if I'd gotten pregnant? That would have been the worst thing ever. And then the world ended. Oh man. So sometimes I feel really bad for her because I'm just like, that had to suck. And then you just kind of have to like sell it, you know, act like he was special, especially since it's his brother taking care of you. You gotta be like, oh no, I really do care about your brother, you know, and yeah, he was special and
He was great. I just care about you more.
yeah, because think about it, like she was really playing up that whole thing, and then as soon as he's gone, she couldn't wait 12 hours to tell Bray, don't you understand, it's always been you. And I'm like,
Let's talk about that, because I know she's dealing with a lot at the moment, but just how cold-hearted was it? Like, he's barely been dead, 12 hours, and his brother, yes.
He hasn't even sank yet. He's still floating, Trudy. He's still on fire, Trudy.
I think she was just very, very scared that during such a difficult time for Bray, Celine would just come in and scoop him up.
It makes you wonder how long Trudy has been just dying for Zoot to really be out of the picture and to finally be able to tell Bray this. Because she wastes no time. She is so happy to finally just be like, oh, well, I don't have to think about Zoot anymore. He's gone. He is a yoke off my back. Bray can't ditch me on him. He is no longer an option in this picture. And boom, I'm not wasting any time telling Bray immediately that I want to be with him. Like, wow. The morning makeup came off. She's fine. I laugh. I love Trudy, but I laugh. I'm like, sweetheart, good Lord, learn some subtlety.
I mean, I've got no, like, love for Brainy's early episodes, but, like, give him a break. He's just lost his brother.
No.
Like, come on.
Oh, Bray's face. His face. Oh my God.
As soon as she says, was it there's Martina line, I was like, oh God.
Oh, Martina.
How sensitive can you be?
Oh my word, Trudy. But you know what this reminds me of? This is what, like, this always reminds me, like, I always thought of Martin as a self-entitled little brat who just figured things were owed to him because he was spoiled because his parents catered to him. Trudy is exactly the same way.
Yes, she is.
You know what I mean? She was clearly a very spoiled young woman, and this is verified in her own flashback that she had very little to worry about in life. Her parents took care of everything, and she just expected to have and get what she wanted. And she does the exact same thing to Bray that Martin did to her. Throws a tantrum because this person does not return their feelings.
That's what Trudy always did, though.
Only in the beginning. And that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, she did it because of this spoiled brat she was. I mean, she eventually grows out of it. She has to learn the hard way, but good Lord, sweetheart. It's painful to watch. She's just so earnest and like throwing herself at him, and her attitude, and she can't see it. She can't see how horrible that comes across and how unattractive that is. And you immediately see Bray's radar go off and it's screaming, run! Get out of there, man! Red flag! Red flag! And he's trying to be so nice about it, but oh my gosh, Trudy, sweetie. Oh, I love you. I love Trudy. I'm a huge Trudy fan. She's my girl, but damn.
She is the master of looks, because I just love that look she gives Celine when she sees her in Bray's arms. It's just
what's going on, Bray?
It's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, yes. If pillars could burn. Oh my goodness. That's what I'm saying. Like the attitude change, it's so immediate from one episode to the next. We just saw her wearing black and playing the tragedy queen, and Lane calls her later, and she's doing it so well. And then all of a sudden, you see her in this episode, and she's a completely different person. You're like, wow, I don't even know if I can trust you.
I mean, yeah. What do people think about that kind of spark growing between Bray and Celine?
I don't think it was anything substantial, to be honest. I kind of feel like Celine she's a sweet girl who wasn't a pain in the ass, and she's like validating his feelings, and she's being supportive, and
she was head over heels in love with him.
Yeah, I don't think he was that crazy about her, but she was easy.
She was there.
Until she wasn't easy. You know what I mean? Because as soon as she was there, he like runs from her too. And
Bray doesn't do too clingy, except when it comes to Danny.
Well, the difference is she may have been clingy, but she was also like productive and like took care of problems on her own and stuff like that. Bray likes that. He likes a woman with a direction.
Yeah. Though, to be fair, at some point in her life, Trudy is a woman with a direction.
Oh, yes, of course. She definitely grows into that, which is why I ship them so hard in a future, like, season 6 somewhere, where they find each other. But anyway. I know their time will come.
Yes, it will. It will.
Yeah, and anyone else notice how quickly Celine told everybody that Zoot was Bray's brother without asking him?
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, she's... Celine, he told you that in confidence. She doesn't know that he told Amber and them, you know what I mean? Like, she has no idea. And she's just like, Zoot was his brother. Like, how do you know that wasn't a secret? What are you doing?
It was so stupid of her.
I think she was trying to step up and be, like, someone, but not the time.
I mean, granted, I'm sure she thought it would help the situation, but the way she says it, you're just like, the last time these people were, she's lucky. She's lucky it went so well.
Yeah.
I don't know why she said that.
I guess it was her crazy way of thinking she was protecting Bray by throwing that information out there and making people feel sorry for him.
That's like the enemy. So it's like we're trying to get you to win this guy over by saying that he's related to the enemy. I think she was trying, but no. She shouldn't have done that.
I do get her reasoning. She figured if they understood that Zoot was his brother, then they would understand why he was spending time with this guy and why he wanted to protect him, because they're related, not because he was a traitor. But at the same time, it's like, Celine, it's still, why do you think that would go over well with these people who don't care? They've already proven they don't care.
I really think she was just going for the sympathy vote of people like Sandra with, oh my god, this guy just lost his brother.
But I mean, her instincts paid off because, immediately, Ryan was like, oh, okay. And Sandra's like, well, everything makes sense now. And, Lex was the only one who was like, who cares? Kick them out. They need to go.
But Lex would always be like that.
Everyone else is just like, look, he's dead. We don't want to argue about this anymore. Sorry, I just thought that was funny. Just like out of the blue, the way she did that. Man, Celine was thirsty that night, wasn't she, you guys?
Yes, she was.
I mean, it's cute and it's really sweet. And I know that she's just being, Celine, but it is kind of like, damn, these girls didn't waste any time. They start laying it on thick. Poor Bray, he's still mourning. For Pete's sake, give him a week, you guys. Just give him a week before you start throwing these hard choices. Keep your panties to yourself for a week. Try. Oh, and one more thing. Anybody else think it's really creepy how Trudy switches between being super sweet with Bray and then gets fatal attraction psychotic?
I've always thought that she was slightly bipolar.
It's so nuts. 1 minute she's Celine's like, "Oh, can I help?" or whatever, and she's just like, "No," and then Bray walks and she's like, "Bray, where have you been?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that is so creepy." How did you do that?
She's just bipolar. Like that's a thing.
But I mean,
That
that's
is-
not how being bipolar actually works.
No.
Like, it's not a Gollum Smeagol thing. Where you're like in the middle of a conversation just switching from one to the other.
I have to admit, I know people that act that way.
Ooh, it's so funny. It's like watching a mom on the phone.
I mean, it could even be split personalities. Like she could be switching.
No.
Yeah.
No, she's
Yeah,
not
very-
at that level.
Very creepy. Yeah.
I'm not throwing around that kind of psychobabble like lightly, okay?
It's like she has on his mask and then she drops it.
Which is no, I'm not getting into it.
I'm just really biting my tongue here on some stuff.
It's really
I've been
catty though. It's very mean girlish. It says a lot about the teenage girl. Because I mean, I remember being that way. I was definitely capable of being that way.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's just that she's such a great actress at portraying it. And it's flawless how she does it. It's like watching Andy Serkis. You're like, that is nuts. It's so creepy how she switches from one to the other. So perfect. And the thing is, up until this point, you didn't know she had that. You didn't know that was part of Trudy, And I think that's what makes it creepy, because it comes out of nowhere. I thought she was just this sweet, vulnerable damsel in distress. Oh no.
Oh god, now you're making me remember a quote from a very different episode. It's the Bray and Danny and Trudy thing.
Oh, he can't resist a damsel in distress unless it's you.
It's you.
Ooh, sweet burn.
Oh, I love that line.
Where's Bray?
He's down there with Dal, food foraging. We need to get some fresh fruit and vegetables. We can't live on this processed muck forever.
But where is he? He isn't here, is he?
Typical.
It's alright, Dal. I'll come with you.
So, going back to the rota, obviously Lex puts himself forward to scavenge with Dal. But obviously, instead of foraging for food, they start playing baseball and jumping across trains, as you do. I mean, it's Lex. We all know what's going to happen. But what were your thoughts about him?
Lex. So Lex is the kid that you can't tell him what to do. So that was his. Yes, it shoots himself in the foot. Like, you're supposed to be looking for food. Bad decision. But you told me to do this. I'm not going to do it. I think your rota is stupid. And now I'm going to go play baseball because you told me to get out of the mall.
No, actually, he wasn't told to get out of the mall.
I know, he volunteered.
He volunteered because Bray wasn't there.
It was his way to get out. Like, hey, I'm on this thing, but I'm going to go out this way and do that. And then I'm going to weasel my way around to show you why this was a stupid idea.
But
trust me, I've done it.
But he wouldn't have gotten food even if she hadn't asked him. He just wouldn't have done anything, no matter what. There's no way she could have approached
Because
him to
she
get the food.
was telling him what to do.
But even if she hadn't, he still wouldn't have gotten food. No matter what Amber would have done, he wouldn't have gotten food.
Yeah, we wouldn't have done his chore.
Like, Lex has never once brought substance back to the mall.
No. He did.
He did.
When?
He has.
The farm
When he
with
was
Alice.
the sheriff and the
Some
the farm.
alcohol. That doesn't count. It
He's
was for his
brought like
wedding.
apples and stuff too.
We've talked about this. No, it doesn't count.
You're talking about when he
Whatever.
traded for food for his wedding, which was someone else's idea, not even his.
That doesn't count.
But also in 4 he did too.
I
He came
do,
back with food in series 4.
I do think that one of the reasons for Lex to instantly go with Dal was that even if he didn't do anything, people could still blame it on Bray because he was supposed to do it originally.
Mm-hmm.
And well, anything to give blame to Bray.
Yeah.
I actually really like that moment of Lex and Dal just hanging out because it does remind you of what these kids have lost out on. Something as simple as just stopping to play catch. And like Dal's reaction, he's not worried about the food. Dal's just scared of stopping and playing catch. Like, we don't have time for that. It's dangerous. And I actually really like where Lex is like, dude, let's just have a catch, man. Live a little. Let's have fun. It's one of the few moments where Lex is slacking off that actually doesn't bug me, because there's something so honest and genuine about taking a moment. These kids, their whole lives have become all about survival. And when was the last time Dal did anything fun? And of all the people who's like trying to encourage him to do it, it's Lex. And he does have fun. It's this brief moment. I wish I could have seen more of the two of them kind of bonding in this weird way, because I get the sense that Lex actually respects Dal more than Jack. Like, he never bullies Dal. He never, threatens Dal or anything like that. And I thought there was something there, and I would have loved to see more of it. I really enjoyed watching the two of them out in the mall together. They were a rare pair,
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, we only really see it again when they go to Hope Island, get a little interaction. But yeah, that's
And later on, before they find Amber again.
Oh yeah, when they're out together. Yeah. Obviously that scene leads to the demon dogs finding them. I mean, okay, we're all going to how silly it was to play at the actual railway yards, but what are your thoughts about like Lex's insight to not lead the tribe back to the mall? Like, we've said this before, but he is quite aware. Like, he knows how to look after himself.
I think it's just an example of how good and productive Lex can be. Like, there are things Lex is very good at, and he can be amazing when you can get to the heart of his character. And his first instinct is to make sure they can't come back to the mall. Whether or not it's selfishly motivated doesn't matter. It's the point that it's the first thing he thinks of, and he gets Dal out of trouble. He doesn't expect Dal to go in on this. He could have easily used Dal as a distraction. He could have thrown that kid under the bus, and all he would have to say to Amber is, I lost him, I'm sorry. And there's nothing she could have done about it, But no, his instinct is, you go back to the mall, I'll lead them away. And it's those rare moments where you get to see a little gem of Lex at his best.
And see, we've talked about that. I think Lex's character, he's the, like...
You guys ever see Firefly? He's the Jane.
Yeah, he is the Jane.
He's
the very much so the Jane.
I do love that plot point. I do love the plot point of people trying to get out of their chores in the way they do it. It makes me laugh. I love Zandra. Like, she's hiding out in the room, and she's like, if anyone goes out there, Amber the Hun will grab them and put them to work. And Amber's like, where's Ryan? Here's his broom. No Ryan. I love the whole thing. Everybody's neglecting their chores. And the kids are covering for him because they know everybody's doing something they're not supposed to do. I just love it. Poor Amber's running around like, what is wrong with you?
I just love that Ryan is the first person to come up with it. Ryan's just
Ryan, you're supposed to be a good boy.
Yeah, because he's upset that they get to walk the dog. Like, I would weasel out if the kids were walking the dog too. That's easy.
Yeah,
it's cute because it proves that none of them are above being manipulative little brats. Even the nice ones in the group.
It makes Ryan a bit more than just, an idiot.
Don't call my Ryan.
He's not an idiot, though.
He's not an idiot.
He's not.
He is just a special, special boy. He is all that is precious in the world, and he just needs to be protected.
Yeah, but
he's just a simple guy. He's not an idiot. I can't handle that. I'm not saying he's the sharpest tack in the box, okay? But neither is Bray.
No.
Ryan is just a simple dude, man. He's just a simple dude.
It was very sly how he quickly realized, okay, let's play a game of poker. I'll let them win, and then that's it. Then I'll show them.
Right? Good hustling. That was nice. It was really nice.
It really showed skill on Ryan's behalf.
I mean, granted, it is funny that the only people Ryan can outsmart are the kids.
Yeah. Right.
But it's still super adorable.
It is.
And that's one of my favorite things about season 1, is that even a character like Ryan, who is genuinely just a really nice guy, he doesn't have beef with anybody, he doesn't cause any troubles, he does not start drama in any way, but he's still a human being, and he's still just as capable as anybody else of screwing off on the job and trying to get away with murder when he shouldn't be doing it, because he's just a person, and I like that about all the characters.
Bray, what if the locals ever find out what happened to him?
I wouldn't give much for our chances. Trudy, they've chosen Ebony as the new leader.
What?
Just pray she never finds out about the baby.
Okay, let's talk about the final thoughts of the episode. So we get a glimpse into the Locos, and we're kind of presented with Priestess Ebony, where she's kind of risen into power and she's taken on this new role within the tribe. Looking back, when you originally watched that scene, were you worried at all about the consequences of this, like about the baby and what might happen with the new tribe? What were your thoughts about Ebony seizing power within the Locos?
She looked scary as hell.
Yeah.
And, well, practically speaking, she looked as if this was all that she ever wanted.
She did.
She didn't care that Zoot was missing. She got the power.
Mm-hmm.
I actually was concerned by this point because so far I realized that this show was not going to have the same kind of formula that other shows had, especially those aimed at a young audience, where there's be a very simple plot and there'd be a resolution and that would be the end of it. You really do feel after Zoot's death that you may have gotten over the biggest hurdle, and then this episode starts and immediately you're just waterboarded with new problems. And that's when I realized that that's how the show was going to go. So I realized that the Locos haven't gone away. None of the problems have actually gone away. They just have a whole bunch of new ones. And if she's running the show, I actually did feel a bit of concern because it hit me. Oh, okay, this show is different. Okay, there is no real lie down, gentle time. We're never really resolving anything. The problems are just going to keep coming at these kids.
Yeah.
There will be consequences to their actions. So I was a little concerned for them. I'm like, oh no.
And that last response, that last look on Trudy's face, it just says it all. She's terrified at the thought of Ebony finding out about the baby.
Yeah, that conversation really sold it. Like they were scared. They were really scared what might happen now that Ebony was in charge.
And even though we only learned later that there's a history there as well, it's just, clearly they both were quite familiar with Ebony, and this was not a good thing.
I mean, I was just thinking a lot of, like, what ifs. Like, there's a lot of ways the show could have gone at this point. Like, she could have stolen the baby and used it as we could have had a chosen storyline, like, really early on, or, like, there's a lot of ways that it could have ended up.
She wanted one, just not the messy way.
I suppose that could have always been her fallback, innit? If she couldn't have seized power within the Locos, she could have gotten the baby and used that as a catalyst. But yeah,
I don't think she would have done it though. I think it's one of those lines with Bray that she wouldn't have crossed, because there's a lot of things she'll do to Bray, but she always, the line she crosses with him, she's always certain that she can kind of win him back over for crossing that line. And I think stealing his niece would be a line she wouldn't be able to come back from, and she's fully aware of that. I don't think she would have gone there.
I don't know. She's always wanted like power within the Locos.
But she doesn't need the baby to get it. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, I'm just saying, if she couldn't have gotten like power, like if Spike or one of the others had gotten there first, like, would she have used the baby as a leverage? I don't know.
I don't know. I do think it's fascinating if you look at the way she takes control of her Locos compared to how Jaffa had done it. Like the way she uses Zoot is she takes Zoot out of the spotlight very quickly. She says she dreamt of him, and he passed the power on to her. She is an equal. She is his successor. Sorry. But Jaffa didn't do it that way. Jaffa kept Zoot in the spotlight, and Jaffa's simply his vessel, his voice, still on this plane. I do think that's interesting the way different people have used Zoot. Ebony's like, I'm not being subservient to anybody. Like, she got Zoot out of the picture very quickly.
As soon as she could.
As soon as she could. So I don't think she would have ever used his child, because then she would have had to promote Zoot. And no, he needs to go. He gave it to me. I'm next in charge.
Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah.
I don't think I don't think she ever really felt bad that Zoot was dead.
Oh no, yeah, no.
No, probably not. I think she was more concerned that he was still alive, and she didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
Like, what is he doing? Because one of the first things she says to Bray is, "How do I know the two of you aren't planning something?" Like, that's what she was concerned about, the threat Zoot posed.
Yeah.
Which I do think is interesting about that relationship that they had. As long as he was alive, she needed to be special to him. But if he's gone, it's one of those things she's got to worry about.
As far as everything was concerned, it was like another mind game. She was thinking, what are they planning? What are they doing?
Right. I mean, she spends we do see it later, but she only has like a brief few seconds of feeling any kind of remorse when she finds out he's dead. And then she's like, okay, all right, that's done. What's next?
So that leads us to our favorite quotes of the week. And yeah, obviously this one was the easy one for me because it was Lex's line with Dal.
Look at this place. It's a disgrace. I'll have to write to the council about it.
Such a cheeky line. I love that. That's all right.
You gotta love his sarcasm.
I don't know. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about that line, actually, because that's one of my favorites too. And like during this rewatch, I've noticed that each character has like a link back to the old world, and I think that starts to be Lex's thing. And I've never noticed it before, but like he's made allusions now to the city council and to cops about like, our world's awful. Let's call back like, the next logical step is the mayor, like, or whatever. And I think that's really interesting.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
Like, yeah, it's like jacking his radio and all of that. Like, I think that's kind of Lex's coping mechanism is to make jokes about having to call someone in charge.
Laugh to keep from crying.
And it's mostly like the authority that he would have trouble with. Like, it's never like a joke at the expense of like a small thing. It's always like an authority figure that we already know Lex has issues with.
Yeah, no, I was just trying to think, but yeah, I think you're onto something. Yeah.
My favorite quote is from Bray.
You killed her baby's father. She's not going anywhere.
I love the delivery of that. The way he shuts Lex down. I love the way Trudy goes to stand next to him, all possessive. I love that whole scene, and I like it because it's the one thing we do get resolved. They aren't going anywhere. We're not going to be discussing kicking them out of the mall anymore. This conversation is over. That is one thing that Zoot's death resolved. So I always like that line.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that Trudy just quietly just steps beside Bray and just turns and looks at him. He's just
damn. Trudy's stink eye. She's got game there.
And she's also rubbing it into Celine's face at that same moment.
Yeah.
Well, and I also like the side of that, like, Lex has nothing else to say, so he's just like, well, shut that brat up. Like, you can't say anything. Like, he has lost that fight, and that is, like, his final, like, blow. Like, he has to get a word in edgewise, and that's what he has to say.
I think for me, my favorite quote of this episode is actually an Amber.
There's no point in surviving the virus only to die of food poisoning, so I've drawn up this.
Yeah, well, if you put Lex and Zandra on the food rota, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I don't know. Both of them proved they can cook later on.
They didn't. Did they cook that, though?
No,
I was under the impression they did.
No, they do prove that they can cook. That's what I'm saying. It's like they can cook without killing anybody. I mean, Zandra cooks a chicken in a pot on a camp stove. Like, that girl's got some mad skills. And even Lex cooks for their honeymoon. Like, I'm amazed. And she didn't die, so he did a good job. In fact, I think Lex is better at cooking than Dal, who couldn't make crackers without burning them.
Burnt crackers, yeah. Yeah, that always surprised me about Farmer Dal. Yeah. So that brings episode 9 of Conversation on Eagle Mountain to a close. Thank you to the panel, and we'll see you in episode 10. So until next time, bye.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.